shelf. I'm falling back and catching myself. And I'm putting the book on a table. I'm reaching down for a coin and I'm throwing it back into a fountain behind me. I'm reaching for the book on the table again. And I'm dropping it. And I'm putting it on a high shelf. I'm grabbing a heavy object. I'm swinging it at an attacker. And I'm putting the heavy object down. I'm reaching for my seatbelt. And I'm releasing it to get out of the car. So the first question is, what is a transversal and how many are in the scale? And first of all, I want to say that all the planes reside in the icosahedron, and a transversal is a pathway within the icosahedron, which involves moving from the corner of one plane to a second plane while passing through a third plane along the way. I believe that in the A scale and the B scale there are 12 transversals. Each pathway between one shape to another should be a transversal if you're doing it right, rather than central. The second question is, what patterns do you find in a scale order, and why are they patterned this way? So the first pattern I saw was that it goes from a vertical to a sagittal to a horizontal, and it just keeps going that way all the way down. And I believe that this is because a vertical plane involves the horizontal and the vertical dimension, which means that the only way for you to fall is to the sagittal, and that goes all the way down. So like if you were in the horizontal plane, the only way for you to fall is down, technically. So you're constantly just moving to the next one that's missing. And then another thing that I thought is that the A and the B scale both follow the same pattern as of like levels. So like you're always going to be high at the same time in the A and the B scale, and you're always going to be low and middle at the same time. You're just going different directions and like crossing versus opening. So then the third question is, how does movement along the transversals connect to shape qualities? And when you're moving along a transversal, you're always changing shape qualities. So you're either rising or sinking, or you're spreading and enclosing, or you're advancing and retreating. And you're always doing all three of them, but some are more drastic than others. So like if you go from the top of rising all the way to the bottom of sinking, that's a more drastic change that you see. Whereas if you're just enclosing a little bit, like if you go from here to all the way across, you're enclosing a little bit, so it's not as noticeable, but it's still happening. So some are more drastic and some are not as noticeable, but they're all happening at the same time, all three of them. You change all three every time. And then the fourth question is, what are the functional aspects of body connectivity that facilitate transverse movement in the scales? So in class we talked a lot about the 3D organs and shaping, and then the 3D spine, because your spine moves in kind of a spiral, which is more of a 3D shape. And you cannot like go from here back here without having a 3D shape of your spine. If it was kind of just stiff or only moved in two-dimensional, you wouldn't be able to go through all the shapes of the plane. And then we also talked about a willingness to go off vertical. So you're not always constantly just stable and balanced, because that's the dimensions, the basic dimensions. And then we also talked about a distal aliveness. And we did this in class with like the tennis balls, and then we did it outside of class on our own. And it's just kind of like focusing on those last little ends of your fingers and your toes. And you bring that aliveness also by looking at it. So like if I'm here, I'm also looking at it and I can feel my fingertips, rather than just having them be a part of your body. So yeah.